I'm focused on this theory cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie.
Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barnes. Today we're going to be talking about a CBS article that's making the rounds right now about who's actually being deported, and it's only a certain amount. I think they said 14% of violent criminals who are being deported. So is this really the worst of the worst that's going to be deported by the Trump administration out of these 400,000 or so people? And the Trump admin is already pushing back on the report, saying, that like there's lots of things like drug trafficking and human smuggling and child pornography and things like that aren't actually included in that when you say nonviolent crime. And so they do break it down by different crimes and stuff in the actual report. So we'll go over that. But just to be clear, just being over here illegally is enough for you to get sent back. You overstaying your visa is enough for you to get sent back, even if there's other crimes that aren't violent, that people commit when you are here in the country trying to immigrate the legal way. I've just heard from so many people who did do it the legal way, how it took years and you had to be financially stable and you had to be a model citizen. So this seems like a really weird, I don't know, narrative. But I mean, they're reporting information. People can interpret it and internalize it whatever way they want to. But still, if it's like 70%, or so, or 60% of people have committed some kind of crime, that still seems like, hey, admin is doing okay. Like we've had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and the number was around like 70% or something, like maybe 64% or 70%, something like that. And I'm like, wouldn't you have thought the number would probably be lower for people who committed some kind of crime? So it kind of seems like they're doing an okay job here. So we'll talk about that briefly. I guess about the Super Bowl a little bit, about my thoughts about the Bad Bunny stuff. It's going to be short. It's going to be real short. I'm not ranting long about that today at all. And about the controversy that we also talked about on Friday with Donald Trump and the whole video issue, because I don't know at the time when we did the live if we knew that there was I think it was a political reporter claiming that Trump didn't see the video at all. But Trump did say that he saw it. There's audio and video and stuff from him being asked about it. So we'll talk briefly about that. Just really briefly. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all that good stuff you guys can support. I very much appreciate it and appreciate you guys. Someone had asked on one of my videos about Israel, and they're like, oh, who paid for this? Ooh, I don't know if that was supposed to be like a $7,000 kind of Israeli government sort of accusation, but I'm pretty sure I say in the video that Kufi took care of it. Like it's Kufi, and then I had generous donors from you guys who also helped to cover expenses that they weren't covering, but it was mostly covered by Kufi. Which is Christians United for Israel. Was not a secret. Like like if something was going on, I would just tell you guys. Like it totally was not a secret. But I do thank you for all of you who support in all kinds of different ways. But it was just a weird comment I got last night, because I'm like, this person must not have watched the video. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. We had good church on Friday, and Saturday we had a women's Bible study, like Galentine's Day thing, because we always meet the first Saturday of the month, and we go through. We have like a Bible study, and like someone will like cover. We're all supposed to read a certain book of the Bible, and then someone is supposed to kind of lead it and go through it all like really quickly with summaries, and then we have discussion. And so we've been doing that for over a year. And so after we quickly went over the book that we were working on, we had a Jeopardy game, Bible Jeopardy, based off of some of the books that we had went over. We went over this, everything was based off of, I think it was Mark, um it was First Kings, and also First Samuel, I think is what was picked for the questions. And so the categories were parables, miracles, revelations, not revelation, but just revelations, and something else. And my team dominated. We keep getting accused of being cheaters. We did not cheat, but the other team was just sore losers. So much to the point, my sister posted a video about it on TikTok, and they're like, "You guys are cheating." And we're like, "Don't tell TikTok that. We didn't cheat, y'all. Just we gotta pray for healing for you guys next time we go to church." So it was really fun. A lot of you know, it was high intense pressure, but it was fun. And it was pretty easy, I guess, if you know your Bible, but it's just like a matter of like, can you process that information so fast? And one of the people on our team would hit the button whether we knew the answer or not. Like, we mostly knew all the answers, but it would be like, okay, she hit the buzzer, I have like 2 seconds to think about this. So I think that really also contributed to our win. And I know my Bible pretty well. My youngest sister Tina was also on my team, and she is a fiend for like the Old Testament, especially Judges was her favorite book. So anyway, we had a good Saturday, and on Sunday service was really good. Sang our new music, was a good day. And then there was the Super Bowl. So we'll briefly just say my thoughts. I did not watch the Super Bowl. I don't like sports. So I've never sat down and watched the Super Bowl. There have been Super Bowl halftime. Well, I remember some years they'd be like, "Oh, commercials are on," and we'd run in to go watch the commercials. But it was really only my dad who really watched the Super Bowl. Like, we just kind of weren't into it. And now you can just watch all the commercials that are interesting on the internet. So it's not a big thing for us to do either. Maybe if something super historic was happening, like the Lions were maybe playing the Super Bowl, I would maybe watch it, because I'm from Michigan, so maybe. But yeah, I've never sat down and watched a Super Bowl. I I don't I can't recall sitting down to watch a football game, actually. It's just not my thing. And as far as the halftime show, I have seen halftime shows. Um I think maybe I've watched one live before, but you can always go back and watch them online. And I have seen halftime shows to judge them. I did not watch Bad Bunny's performance. I don't know who Bad Bunny is, and I didn't know who Bad Bunny. I literally had never heard of Bad Bunny until they said he was going to perform at the Super Bowl, and I feel like a lot of people feel that way. There's a video of someone asking a bunch of athletes, like, "What's your favorite Bad Bunny song?" And people are like, "Oh yeah, she's great," or something. Like, people didn't know who Bad Bunny was. I think, and I understand they're at the award shows, and somebody listens to his music, somebody goes to his concerts, but I can't think of like I don't know, TikTok trends or whatever from Bad Bunny songs. Like, there's a lot of popular songs that just go super viral on TikTok, and that's how you'll know about them. Like the song we sang in church yesterday. I was asking my sister, I'm like, "Hey, did you like that song?" And she's like, "I heard it on TikTok." She's like, "Yeah, I knew that song, because there was somebody did a dance routine to it, cute little dance routine." And so there's some songs that, even if you don't seek secular music, which I don't seek out secular music or whatever, but sometimes it pops up in your feed. People do edits with different music. And I don't think I've ever heard a Bad Bunny song. I certainly don't know who he is. So why did they decide to pick Bad Bunny? Is it because he's Puerto Rican? Is it because he's of, in the LGBT crowd or whatever, and under the alphabet stuff, and he's apparently kissed men at other concerts? Maybe. Maybe it was a protest to Trump's America and all that stuff. And that's why. And Trump was like, oh, this is a terrible anti-American guy. Like, why'd they pick him? And it's been the talk of the town for a while, just how awful of a choice he is. I don't know who Bad Bunny is, and I never felt motivated to find out. And I'm even to hate watch him. Like, some things you might hate watch for clicks and views. I don't even really want to hate watch him. Like, if someone had to assign me to do it, perhaps I would do that. But I make the news on this particular show. So I I don't know who he is. And I feel like a lot of people don't. I feel like a lot of people don't. So I didn't watch it. Now, as far as the Turning Point show, my sister asked me if I was going to watch that, because she's like, she's like, I don't think I'm going to watch it. I think I'm just going to turn it on and give them the view. So that's what she planned to do. And so I guess maybe she expected I would watch it or whatever. And I'm just like, I remember when they were first pitching the idea of having a Turning Point alternative halftime show. And then they announced all the people who were going to be there. And with the exception of Kid Rock, I don't think I knew anybody. It's not my genre of music. It's really not my genre of music. Of course, I already said I don't really listen to secular music, but it's super not my genre. Um, you know, and I'm like, I don't. When they were first talking about it, people were throwing around names of like different Christian artists, and I remember people on TikTok being really excited about the idea, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, they should get Forrest Frank to do it." Now, Forrest Frank was on there. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. That's really neat. I guess I was expecting a livelier Christian concert. They got all this kind of cool folks who sang at, Charlie's memorial service. And so, I'm like, oh, Kid Rock. Now, Kid Rock did come out with the Bow with the Bow, the Bang to Bang song that he did way back forever ago. And it was like a short version, and he came back later, was reintroduced like with his real name, and sang a song about how we need Jesus. And so the overall arc, I guess, with him in the Super Bowl halftime event, as far as him, is supposed to be about how God can save you and change you. And that's a lovely sentiment. I just would have, I guess, preferred if it was other artists, and I would have been interested in it. It just wasn't my thing. So you're expecting more like hate commentary about Bad Bunny. I didn't watch it. I'm I'm terribly disinterested. There's tons of other commentators who are hating on it, micro managing it, etc. I prefer to live in the world where I don't know Bad Bunny exists. I preferred that world last year, and I would prefer if that was still a thing. I always think it would be neat. The neatest thing probably would be if, I don't know, they got Weird Al or somebody to do the Super Bowl. I thought Kendrick Lamar was a weird choice too for them to do before. I'm like, are all these people they're gonna know who Kendrick Lamar is? I mean, I know a lot of people watching it will know, but I don't know. I would think that you really want to kind of appeal to the crowd. Like a bunch of like rock country kind of artists, or would probably be really cool for Super Bowl crowds or whatever, but I don't know. I didn't watch it. So, those my short 2 cents. Another thing before we get into the immigration story, on Friday we talked about this huge story that broke with Donald Trump's Truth Social. And man, a lot of people were mad about my commentary about it. A lot of people shared it and said that I made perfect sense because I did a short TikTok right after the show and before I went to church about it. But my take, just to be brief, was that I was going to explain what happened and I wasn't going to excuse what happened. And then I was going to give my 2 cents. So just to recap, Donald Trump on Truth Social shared a video about election fraud. And someone must have recorded it, like screen recorded it, and it was some kind of reels where it automatically plays the next video afterwards. And the next video that followed was a video about In the Jungle, the Lion Sleeps Tonight, that song. And Trump was the lion. And there's all these Democrats and Democrat operatives. There were all kinds of different animals. And the Obamas were gorillas. And that was like the first thing that popped up. And that ended up being on the tail end of the election fraud video that was shared on Trump's social media. So my take was that it's not good. One, I don't like all the sort of childish things that they post. Like I have conversations all the time with you guys about, gosh, maybe this was funny to post on the White House a little bit, but I don't know. I don't really think it's appropriate for an official account, and I think they just need to be better about what they post. And I know this is a long conversation we've been having since 2006. I mean, not 2006, 2016, and maybe it's a lot expecting people to change in their very old age and so on, but it's just something that they need. I wish they were better at, but at the very least, posting stuff that you haven't watched all the way yourself isn't a good thing, whether it was Trump wanting them to post it or some staffer who controlled his account not watching it all the way through. That's really not a good thing. I don't care how funny you thought the Lion Sleeps video was. I don't care how important you thought the fraud video was. I don't care, like, if you didn't think the monkey thing was racist or however you feel, how much you love Trump or dislike Trump. It really should be just an agreeable thing across the board that it's not good that someone with that much power, there's people posting stuff and they don't watch the whole thing to completion, whether it's him or some staffer who ends up pressing post. It's not good. It's not necessarily good when anyone does it. And it's the higher your platform is, the higher your profile is. It's bad if you don't check stuff because you're sharing stuff. It could be shared to other places and it just becomes a snowball of lies and misinformation and et cetera, et cetera. And or maybe it's not misinformation. Maybe it's something, I don't know, that just could be deemed harmful to people or whatever. It's just really important that you check that stuff out. And I do have experience doing social media stuff for important political things because one, I have done a lot of work for different campaigns, making different content. But I used to be the creative director for the Michigan Republican Party, and we had to jump through a lot of hoops before we even posted anything. So whatever system they have before they post stuff with the Trump team, they really need to figure it out. But, from my understanding, they've just always been fast, loose, and a little bit wild with the social media stuff. And I think there's just so much stuff happening in this world where we have to live outside of the meme space. And we can't be too chronically online. And there's a lot of people who don't laugh at the memes like you may laugh at the memes. And that's just a reality of the situation. Like people who are like, it's no big deal, you may think it's not a big deal, but a lot of people are embarrassed by stuff like that. And you could say, go out there, we got to vote for Trump, or the Democrats are going to take the House and then they're going to impeach Trump. Oh my gosh, we got to stop it. You can say that, but that's not going to motivate women, especially suburban white women, I guess, to go out there and hit it for Trump one more time. Or just a lot of people, they'll just stay home and not say anything to you and shrug their shoulders. And you'll be like, what the heck happened? So they just got to be better with that social media stuff. And you cannot like it, but it's the truth anyhow. So, and you could argue about, I don't even think the conversation should be really about, was the video racist and stuff? Like, so many people are trying to double down. It wasn't racist. It wasn't right. That's not even like the main concern. The main concern is they need to be better about watching the stuff and post and being responsible with what they post. Like he didn't even make it. He didn't make the video. Trump didn't make the video. He allegedly didn't purposely post the video. So what's with so many people on the right even trying to waste their time being like that video wasn't racist? Like the video doesn't even matter. You know? That's not the main thing we really should be even discussing. Trying to I know I saved Trump talking about it. He was asked about it. So and he did condemn racism, just to make it easier, but I mean, I don't know if he thinks that the video itself was actually racist, but he did say he condemns the racist parts of the video when he was asked about it.
Yeah, I looked at it, I saw it, and I just looked at the first part. It was about voter fraud in someplace, Georgia. There was a lot of voter fraud, 2020 voter fraud. And I didn't see the whole thing. I guess during the end of it, there was some kind of a picture that people don't like. But I didn't see it. I looked at the first part, and it was really about voter fraud and the machines, how crooked it is, how disgusting it is. Then I gave it to the people. Generally, they look at the whole thing, but I guess somebody didn't, and they posted, and we took it down, and we did it. But that was a voter fraud that nobody talks about. They don't like to talk about that post. We took it down as soon as we found out about it. No, I looked at it, I saw it, and I just looked at the first part. It was about.
Yeah, so that's what he said. He said that he did see it. He just looked at the first part. He also mentioned there was this little part, it's just a few seconds long. It said, at least you condemn the very racist parts of the video. And he said, of course, yeah, I do.
Very least, do you condemn the racist parts of the video?
Of course I do. Yeah.
So there you go. So I don't know. There's plenty of folks trying to double down on it, and defend the. He's not even trying to defend the video. I mean, he kind of like tried to explain like, oh, it's about the Lion King and so on, but I don't. His main focus was to refocus to it was about the voter fraud in Georgia, blah 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 blah. So I don't get everybody's trying to obsession with the video itself, trying to defend it, because again, that's not really what it's about. Anyway, let's talk about the voter fraud stuff. I mean, sorry, not the voter fraud stuff. Let's talk about the immigration. Let's talk about the immigration. So CBS, under the leadership of Barry Weiss, or it might be Weiss, put out an article that's making the rounds. CBS News exclusive, an internal DHS document shows that less than 14% of nearly 400,000 individuals arrested by ICE in President Trump's first year back in power have had violent criminal records. It's the most detailed look yet at who ICE has arrested. So we'll go through this report. But Barry Weiss had retweeted, said, is Trump really deporting the worst of the worst? Scoop here. And so Tricia McLaughlin, Department of Homeland Security, said drug trafficking, distribution of child pornography, burglary, stealing stuff. I can't say the word great. Fraud, DUI, embezzlement, solicitation of a minor, human smuggling are all categorized as non-violent crimes. So she's just putting that in perspective when you say that only like 14% are violent crimes. There's still a lot of really bad things that we wouldn't want, obviously, people to do in our country, that a lot of folks are doing and then being deported. Now, again, if you come here illegally, if you overstay your visa, that's reason enough to kick you out of here. If you have a temporary, some kind of temporary status that's been granted to you, it can still be revoked as well, depending on what happens. Hold on a second. Probably gonna have to read this from my phone because it's kind of lagging. But the fact of the matter is, when people have to immigrate here legally, they are on like their best behavior. They have to be on their best behavior. They have to be financially able to support themselves and not be a drag to the system. It takes years for a lot of people to do themselves and then to get their families over. And the idea that people could just, run across the border, claim grown men from not just the Mexico border, way wherever, maybe across the world, and they claim that they have, they're here for a humanitarian crisis and that they want refugee status, when you're supposed to go to like the safest nearest country, not trek all the way up to the United States of America because you paid some coyote to help you there on the journey and so on. That's not how it's supposed to work. And then they can come and get, all these sort of benefits and be put up, have cash, their phones and all kinds of stuff. That's not how it should be. And then when people round them up and decide that they're going to deport them, that everybody wants to cry on TV and go protest in Minnesota and all kinds of different stuff. It's really, 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 really not fair. I saw a video of a really woke Filipino girl on TikTok, and I didn't know what her at was. Somebody was doing a video reply to her, and I wanted to reply so bad. I've been to the Philippines. I haven't been to a lot of countries, I haven't done as much traveling from like missionary work as some of my other members of my family. My dad's been to a lot of countries. My youngest sister's been to a lot of countries and stuff, but I have been to the Philippines. And man, people want to come to America. And like there was someone who was following us around with a satellite phone because they were like a volunteer with the State Department, and they were making sure that we weren't kidnapped because we did go at a pretty dangerous time. And so they would just check in and be like, hey, they're supposed to be here. So if we didn't pop up at the hotel at the time when we were supposed to, where it was expected for us to be, then they could alert the U.S. government that something had happened to us. So as an American, just first of all, that makes me feel good that the State Department was doing that. I don't know how often they do that, but I was very blessed, and it made me feel really good as an American that they had their eye on us like that. But this was someone who works with the State Department like that because they do want to one day go to America, and that does help them get in the good graces and so on. And there are all kinds of people, who are educated, who are working their way to one day get to the United States of America. If my brother could have married a girl, which, if he would have proposed to somebody, they probably would have said yes and just let him put them in his suitcase and go back. Like people wanted to go to the US. People were so amazed. Cause we actually really were struggling at the time that we went. It was a really rough and very tight trip, but they were just amazed that we went to the mall and got pizza. Like, and we kept saying we're not like rich people, and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, what? Like, we just went to the mall because we needed something to eat. But it was, but people wanted to come to the US. And so she was just complaining about immigration and all these kinds of things. And I'm just thinking about all these people who want to come to America so bad, who are working the system correctly. And you can't understand and sympathize with the people who don't like line jumpers. So I'm always thinking about people who are being treated unfairly. That visceral rage that sometimes you get when you're at the grocery store and you're in some kind of line. Now they've rearranged the lines a lot, and a lot of people are just self-checkout through the, I just about every grocery store that I see is like, you take your stuff to a self-checkout place, and at Myers they have like a really long like self checkout, a ton of lanes for you to do yourself. But, there'd be the long lines before that you get in, and then there'd be maybe like a quick checkout if you had under 10 items. And it just there might be a long line and someone just decides that they're going to cut in front of the whole entire line, or whether it's grocery store or maybe it's Cedar Point or some kind of amusement park line, and you're just like, hey. Now some people are too chicken and they'll just take it. So there's some people don't care, but I think most people don't say anything. Are just kind of chicken and they stew within themselves. But some people are like, hey, bro, you weren't there. Like, what are you doing? Like, that feeling that you get. Can you imagine the feeling that legal immigrants have when they know that people are just are just hopping the border, and then folks are crying because if they want to send it back, when they had to pay all this money, invest all this time, take the test, have all this self-support, and then and y'all just crying and protesting in the streets, willing to hit people with your cars and be hit by them. That's crazy to me. But anyway, CBS News said less than 14% of those arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back in office had violent criminal records, document shows. Less than 14% of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in President Trump's first year back in the White House had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses, according to an internal Department of Homeland Security document obtained by CBS News. Now, 400,000, when you think of all the millions of illegal aliens that are in the country, you're probably like, that number isn't significant enough. Got to boost those numbers. But 14%, could sound like a small number, but 14% of 400,000 is still like 56,000 people. And so we're talking about 56,000 people that do have some kind of, violent sort of history. So that's still pretty bad. When you think of like all the people in the US, and that maybe that's a small number comparatively, but these are still people who don't belong in the country, who are still committing very violent crimes. The official statistics contained, before I go on, let me point this particular fact out. That's pretty important. Bill Mulligan had retweeted the CBS News article, and he said none of Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nuagra, and Rachel Morin's illegal alien killers had any violent criminal history beforehand. So just because someone doesn't have some kind of violent criminal history beforehand doesn't mean that they're not going to be a violent illegal alien criminal. They're people who should not have been here, who came here. And so if they had deported Laken Riley's killer, and Laken Riley, man, she valiantly fought, but brutal, her death. If they had deported him before that encounter, would you have people in Minnesota crying and protesting, say, how dare you deport this person? They weren't very violent before that. Like, what? Just think about that. Think about that. The official statistics contained by the DHS document, which had not been previously reported publicly, provide the most detailed look yet into who ICE arrested during the Trump administration's far-reaching deportation operations across the U.S. The internal DHS figures undermine frequent assertions by the Trump administration that its crackdown on illegal immigration is primarily targeting dangerous and violent criminals living in the U.S. illegally, people Mr. Trump and lieutenants have regularly called the worst of the worst. The statistics show ICE has dramatically increased arrests since Mr. Trump's return to office. Nearly 60% of ICE arrests over the past year had criminal charges or convictions, the document indicates, but among that population, the majority of the criminal charges or convictions are not for violent crimes. For example, while Mr. Trump and his aides often talk about immigration officials targeting murderers, rapists, and gangsters, the internal data indicate that less than 2% of those arrested by ICE over the past year had homicide or sexual assault charges or convictions. Another 2% of those taken into ICE custody were accused of being gang members. So, um, uh, again, so I mean, I don't want those people um I don't want those people to stay here. I want them to go. And again, as just being here illegally is enough reason for you to get sent back. Um but even the 2% is, it's not a huge number. It's also not nothing, I guess. Um so there's that. So what? So about 8,000 they have our gang members, about 8,000 they have our um doing like homicide and sexual assault. And that's charges or convictions. And again, other people who have violently raped and murdered American women, young women, didn't have those convictions and charges before they actually hurt people. So they have a chart, and it's like figures represent share of 392,619 arrests of those with criminal records made from January 21st, 2025 to January 31st. And it's about 40% are civil immigration violations, and 30% are like all other crimes. Assault is like 10.9%. DUI is 7.6%. And I don't even like drinking at all. So, DUI just super annoys me. Dangerous drugs, 5.7%, weapon offenses, 1.6%, sexual assault, 1.4%, theft, 1.3%, robbery, burglary. There we go. There's a word. Is 1.3%, robberies a 0.7%, homicide is 0.5%, kidnapping is 0.3%, arson is 0.1%. Nearly 40% of all those arrested by ICE in Mr. Trump's first year back in office did not have any criminal record at all and were only accused of civil immigration offenses such as living in the U.S. illegally or overstaying their permission to be in the country. The DHS document shows. I wonder how many of these people are also self-deporting and aren't even people that they themselves rounded up. Those allegation violations of U.S. immigration laws are typically adjudicated by Justice Department immigration judges in civil, not criminal proceedings. While Mr. Trump's deportation program enjoyed majority support in the 2024 presidential campaign in his early months in office, the public opposition to his crackdown has grown significantly because of concerns about agents' tactics, like in cities in Minneapolis, in over who is being swept up by the operation. CBS News poll last month found that Americans support Mr. Trump's deportation efforts have fallen to 46%, down from 59% at the start of the second term. Just over 60% of those surveyed said immigration agents were being too rough. And here's a quote from Trisha that we read earlier. I think drug trafficking, distribution of child pornography, burglary, fraud, DUI, embezzlement, solicitation of a minor, human smuggling are all categorized as non-violent crimes. What the statistics show about the ICE arrest under Trump. DHS document obtained by CBS News indicates that ICE made roughly 393,000 arrests between January 21st to 2025 and the 31st of the year. ICE classified around 229,000 of those arrested as criminal aliens because they had criminal charges or convictions. About 153,000 of the arrests were categorized as other administrative arrests or detentions of immigrants lacking any criminal record. Nearly 11,000 of the arrests were criminal arrests of non-citizens taken into ICE custody due to new criminal allegations like interfering with operations. In total, ICE made more than triple the number of administrative arrests, including of criminals, over the past year under Mr. Trump than the agency did the fiscal year in 2024 when it recorded in 113,000 administrative arrests during the Biden administration. The percentage of ICE arrests over those with criminal histories, however, went down from 72% in the fiscal year 2024 to nearly 60% in Mr. Trump's first year. The figures indicate that roughly 7,500 or 1.9% of the ICE arrests involved individuals accused of belonging to gangs like Tren de Aragua, a criminal organization with origins in Venezuela's prisons. Mr. Trump initially made a gang a focal point of his crackdown, deporting 200 men accused of being the gang members to a notorious prison in El Salvador. A CBS News and 60 Minutes investigation last year found that most of the men did not have any apparent criminal record. The internal DHS document lays out the most serious charge of conviction for those arrested by ICE with criminal histories. The documents list 2,100 arrests of those with homicide charges or convictions, 2,700 arrests with those with robbery offenses, 5,400 arrests involving individuals charged with or convicted of sexual assault. Another 43,000 arrestees are listed as having assault charges or convictions. About 1,100 had kidnapping charges or convictions, and 350 had arson offenses. Added together, the number of ICE arrests involving individuals charged with or convicted of the aforementioned violent crimes represents around 13.9% of all arrests. So, yeah, it's a interesting read as far as what's going down. Now, Trump did talk a lot about the worst of the worst, and we're getting gang members, and we're getting all these people, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, but I always knew, like, you're not going to get the biggest mass deportation in history by just doing that. And I guess I'm not really surprised by the numbers, and I still don't want people to come and cross the border illegally. And I don't want that to be incentivized. And if you do incentivize people crossing the border illegally, you're going to have floods of people who are coming in. They did not build some kind of super high-tech wall in this particular first year that just stopped border crossings from happening. It was really the attitude that we're going to enforce the law, that if you come here, there's a good chance that you're going to come back. There was I didn't talk about this on the show, I don't think, but I did do a TikTok about it, and I did post. I don't think I posted on Facebook, but there was a man who came in Arizona, and he's from gosh, I don't a country near China, and he came up through in Arizona and used the app that Biden had for people to register for like humanitarian 2-year probation, because people come in and they don't really have real asylum claims or whatever, but they ended up using that app. Now Trump has restructured the app that Biden used to be like a self-deportation app. So again, I wonder how many of these people actually like self-deported, and wasn't like ICE going and rounding up the people and them sending them on planes and stuff. I don't even know if this 400,000 number is just them like doing footwork, or people just voluntarily leaving and reporting, and them being like, oh, we got all these people who deported. But he had we got a license to drive a semi truck in Pennsylvania, and was in Indiana, and he didn't slow up for like a tractor trailer, like a semi tractor, and ended up swerving on the other side of the road into like oncoming traffic, and he ended up hitting a van and killed 4 people. And there were some people in my comments who were like, well, you're just taking this one experience and you're trying to paint this on. I'm like, I wish this was the only experience of someone driving a truck and causing a crash that killed multiple people. The first time I heard the story last year. It was crazy. And then I heard another story. I thought it was the same story because I'm like, this happened again. I'm like, no, the details are so similar. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a different event. This has happened I think at least 4 times that I'm aware of. People are very concerned. And I'm not saying there's not American people who are driving semi trucks or are getting in car accidents. And Don Lemon likes to point out, well, there's Americans who commit a lot of crime, and as more crime than illegal aliens or people who are, they probably need to say illegal aliens, but than people who cross the border illegally. There's more of us, sure, but we're terrorized when crime happens. It's not the whole population going on and committing violent assaults and in all kinds of different stuff. It'll be a small portion of people who will go in and do crimes, but if it affects the people in the area. It's not like the half of the United States is going out committing murder and rape and other kinds of things, but there's always like a small percentage of the overall population that's doing enough heinous things that it terrorizes the community. When people talk about crime in the Black community, is it the whole of the Black community that's doing all that kind of stuff? Or is it a population that's terrorizing the Black, not just white neighbors, whatever, but people within the Black community itself? It's never like the whole of the group that's doing it. So anyway, someone said, if you come here illegally, you and or have stayed illegally at any point amount of years, you need to go. And there's a lot of Republicans, especially like back in 2008 was that Gang of 8 bill and stuff where there are people who tried to do amnesty. Trump even pitched amnesty during his first term. And there's some Republicans that are into that. They're pitching amnesty without calling it amnesty because amnesty is kind of a really dirty word, but effectively they want some kind of amnesty to kind of happen on some kind of pathway to citizenship. I don't think there should be for people who skip the line like ever. I think there should be fines, but not fines to citizenship. You should just like maybe we're not eager to deport you, but there's got to be some kind of penalty for, I don't know, every year you're here, bro. I just don't want to encourage people to keep coming here in droves. And I actually wish the Trump administration was doing more. Now they feel very pressured, I think, to make it the biggest mass portation in history. So are they just looking for the worst, especially when you go into blue areas and they won't cooperate with ICE to give up the people? So sometimes they're going and just kind of chasing down leads where they think there's going to be folks who are illegal aliens. Is that happening? Yes. That is happening. Sometimes your gardener gets caught up in this stuff and people are very upset about that. They could focus on the worst and leave all the other stuff to be, but I don't think that's also right. I don't think that's also right either. But Trump is actually kind of squishy because there are people saying like, hey, we need certain people doing these particular kinds of tasks. So don't pick them up. It's going to wreck our economy. And we could have a real conversation about what's going to be the consequences if you just kind of pluck all these people who are kind of integrated in. But I think the reality is that we would find some kind of way to adjust. Maybe we would give out more visas or whatever for people if there really aren't people to do those kinds of jobs. But we need to know who's here. There needs to be documentation. And all these folks who are trying to just get away with paying folks under the table, that's not fair either. Again, not to citizens who got to go and pay their stuff or the people who immigrate into the country legally, and they got to take care of all this stuff too. It's not fair. So, as far as Trump's numbers, I'm really not surprised um by the breakdown, I guess. It doesn't make me think, "Oh my gosh, they're not just only getting drug dealers." That was never going to be a feasible thing. When people say they want mass deportation, there's a lot of people within the Republican base who have a stronger opinion about mass deportation than I think the president does. I think a lot of rhetoric from Trump is just that, to be frank. I think there's people in his administration that are pretty rough about it. People like I think Steve Miller and stuff. So but Trump himself, I think he's a lot softer on this issue because he's already pulling back a lot. And I already mentioned that he actually pitched amnesty in his first term. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. We'll see where they go with that particular narrative from CBS. Something else that was also very interesting. People were talking about John McCain and this moment where, if I don't know if you guys recall, I don't know how old everybody is. I think everybody. I don't have any super young people who watch me. But back in 2008, there's this moment where John McCain criticized someone who didn't like Obama, and said he was a good and decent man.
I got to ask you a question. I do not believe in. I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's not. He's not. He's a. He's an Arab. He is not. No.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you. Thank you.
So people, a lot of Democrats, especially because McCain had beef with Trump, try to point out that, oh, we need civility like this. And then they're like, I miss this Republican Party. And Meghan McCain said, you guys only loved and appreciated him when he never became president and then died. I get the point, but he was called a racist by the entire Democrat Party for years for daring to run against Obama, ultimately leading to the rise of Trump. If you cry wolf enough, sometimes the beast shows up. And so I'm assuming maybe this is like kind of like spilling over from the maybe Trump's videos or something that happened over the weekend. But there's a lot of people pushing back on Meghan McCain and like this guy here saying, I voted for Obama over your father because I agree more with the Democratic Party ideas about taxes and social safety nets. But he was genuinely an honorable and decent man who was widely appreciated across the spectrum. And it's a shame you can't see that. And so Meghan had also replied to him and just said, I like your takes on what happened politically years ago. Like, does it outweigh the fact that I was right there with him experiencing this? Like, she's his daughter. She knows that people were calling him racist and all kind of different stuff. I remember like people were like, McCain's so nice. I mean, the greatest rhetoric was like, he's just like Bush. They're gonna take us back into Bush age and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the people are not nice to McCain, and people are not nice to Romney. People had a newfound respect after Romney, came after Trump really hard, but the war on women, that became a big thing like under that race. Like they said he had a binder full of women, it was just resumes. I think there was a story made up about putting a dog on the roof of a car, or just all kind of crazy weird stuff. Someone did Harry Reid make up a lie about him not paying taxes? Was it him? There was a politician that he lied and said he didn't pay taxes. And then they asked Harry Reid, like, do you regret saying that? And he's like, no, because he lost. Like, just openly lied about a pretty important thing. And they don't care because the goal is just to make you lose. Now, and here's actually that tweet that Megan said. Thank you for arguing with me in my lived experience as his daughter, who also worked on all his campaigns. You obviously know more than I do, Matt. So, this reinvention of history of like, oh gosh, no, once upon a time Republicans were so normal, and we miss George W. Bush. Oh, why can't Republicans be like George W. Bush? Because we remember how you treated George W. Bush. Oh, why can't they be like Mitt Romney? Because we remember how you treated Mitt Romney. Joe Biden said that Mitt Romney and Republicans were going to put black people back in chains. That's where that's from. If you've ever heard Biden say, put y'all back in chains. They're going around right now saying that wanting voter ID is racist. Even though black people have ID and agree with the policy. You have Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, going around saying it's Jim Crow 2.0, which, by the way, they already used that. We need a 3.0 now. How can it be the 2.0? This is the new version, guys. They always cry wolf with this stuff. And so when I was talking on Friday about Trump and the video and all that stuff and the controversy, someone left a comment and said, you know, people are prone to defend Trump because of all the times people cry wolf. And though I don't want to excuse like Trump's behavior as far as like posting stuff that he didn't watch, or someone posting stuff that they didn't watch is still a bad thing. It's still true that people feel the need to defend him because people have lied all the time. And I told a story about how Democrats tried to do that locally in Michigan with because my sister had she was on the campaign. This was like right when my mom died, so you know, a little distracted, but you know, she made a mistake and named a Democrat, a black Democrat pastor instead of this Republican pastor. They had very similar names though, and instead of just accepting that it was a really simple mix-up and she didn't mean anything by it, they're all like, oh, they're racist, that they think all black people are like it was such a reach. But they have to do that because that's what they cling to. I know that there's a lot of racism out there, by the way, on the right and the left. It's not just left people who are racist. It's not just right people. It's on both sides. It really is. So I'm not going to be one of those people who are like, oh, racism doesn't exist. I always think that's ridiculous. But people really, really reach too much with this crap. And Megan is right. Megan is right. They like Republicans who don't oppose them. They like Republicans who lose. It's like Donald Trump. Oh, ha ha, he's running. Ah, ha ha ha. You know. Oh, okay. Like your buddy before he decided to really seriously run for president, and then he decided to run in the primary, and everybody wanted him to be the person who wins the primary because they thought he was going to be easy to beat, and then he won, and then it wasn't so funny anymore. And they never got over the fact that they thought it was a joke and Donald Trump actually pulled it off. They're still embarrassed to this day that it happened. They never got over it. I think while Trump does invite much criticism to him, it is also the case that they are hyper hysterical, probably the worst of the worst as far as media, as far as Democrats, than maybe ever. I mean, I'm in my 30s. There's only so far I remember like going back as far as presidential stuff. But I remember it being pretty bad with Bush. My dad said it was crazy with Reagan and stuff too. He thinks that Trump was the worst as far as just how unfair the media was and how much they attack him. But I think they think that Reagan was probably the second as far as elections that they've lived through and presidents that they've lived through as far as criticism. I would assume they would probably think that Bush was the second. People hated Bush's guts, man. And they really mocked him as well as far as his level of intelligence. Now they're just like, oh, he's an old man who likes to paint and gives, candy to Michelle or takes candy from Michelle. Oh, they're such buddies. But while he was president, no. He was an idiot and he was a butcher. And then they gave Obama a Peace Prize and Obama droned a lot of folks. So someone said she was on left-leaning shows rubbing elbows with them while going after Trump. Talking about Meghan McCain. Yeah, Meghan McCain. When she's like on The View and stuff, she said she was always kind of conflicted because she was on the show talking and doing all the stuff, but at the same time, she kind of wondered, was she kind of the right representation from the right to go on such a show? Because she wasn't a Trumpy person, and I know she probably considers herself to be pretty conservative. She's certainly not as conservative as I am. But she had it rough on those shows because she didn't like Trump, and she had very good personal reasons to not like Trump. Like let's be fair to Meghan. He did attack her dad. He did attack her dad. So I can understand her not being terribly fond of Trump, which he did call her and they did talk, I think, after he won. I don't think it was during the campaign. I think maybe it was after he won, and to kind of bury the hatchet. And she just, I think some things when you're a child, like maybe, and someone attacks your parents, that you'll maybe never kind of get over, but some of the hatchet, it seems to at least be buried. But she had it rough because even her perspective, folks couldn't take, and folks didn't like. People really wouldn't be able to take me if I went on a show like The View. They really wouldn't like it. Oh, I would love it though. Oh, they really hate when we talk about topics like abortion and things like that. Like like to thinking back to when Don Lemon is on the show and he's just talking, they ask him a question about the Catholic Church not liking gay marriage, and he goes on, and I just be like, sir, when you say you're a Christian, what does that mean to you? Like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I would just really have to press people. I'd be like, excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. We got to dive deeper on these topics. Anyway, that's all for today, guys. Please go to blacktunies.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because there's cost to stream on my site, all that stuff, so you guys can support. I very much appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the site, like different t-shirts and mugs and so on, and different books that we have. I have different books, like my picture book called Bigger. It's about a baby dinosaur who wants to be bigger. There's a link in the description if you want to check that out, or any other books that I have. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.